We are at the beautiful Parmarth Nikatan Ashram in Rishikesh, India. We're at the International Yoga Festival, and I have the honor of interviewing Anandra George. She is a teacher of sacred sound. She does the most gorgeous chanting on the Ganga, Ma Ganga, this beautiful sacred river, at dawn. And she has these throngs that crowd around to chant with her and to learn about sacred sound. And since we're talking about sacred sound, I'm wondering if we could start this interview with a sound. If you would honor us with a sound.
Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om.
So beautiful. It's actually beyond beautiful. I can just feel the vibration. It's so powerful, Anandra. So I know you have an amazing story. I would love to hear why you have stayed with this chant music. What does it do to you? Because I think a lot of our viewers are interested in the power of going inward to heal. And so I'm wondering if you could speak to it kind of from that angle.
Yeah. So for me, you know, it's part of my story. Why I stay with it is really my story, because I had a very, very difficult life from in the first, several years of my life, and I mean, there were good parts and not so great parts, like everyone, but I think I came into the spiritual path led by my heart, but with a lot of wounding and a lot of trauma, and so many mental hang-ups and various neuroses and really obstacles to the peace of the self. There was a lot crusted over.
Just in hearing that, Anandra, I'm reminded of a saying, and I believe this is from Thich Nhat Hanh, if I'm not wrong. And he said, we have to keep breaking our heart over and over until it stays open. So it sounds like you came into this with the heart broken open.
Yeah. And and in a way, the life circumstances really forced me from a very early age to turn within, because there was nothing outside that was stable enough or harmonious enough for me to really hang my trust on. And so I've started listening. Listening is the core of sacred sound practice.
Okay.
You could say that sacred sound is distinguished from ordinary sound by a presence of listening awareness. And so when I started off, really from a small child listening in, that set the foundation. It was really my lifeline, psychologically, spiritually, and it was also the beginning of the mystic path for me. And when I was called to India the first time, I had a long history as a musician when I started playing music when I was 10, and was blessed with some really wonderful teachers. But the mystic, really active mystic side blew right open when I first came to India.
So you're connecting the state of deep listening, this musical ability, and a seeking that brought you to India at a young age. So I know you came here and studied with a teacher who took you very deep, very quickly, and I'm wondering if you could talk to us about the healing power of mantra, of kīrtan, of music in this sacred way.
Well, I think it's amazing that so many people all over the world are just crazy about kīrtan and crazy about mantra. And it's really heartening to see so many people following the path of sound in. But there's also a lot of kīrtan for entertainment and for, you know, looking cool or whatever. And I guess, you know, I'm so grateful to ultimately to my inner voice for being a real stickler with me, to stay in integrity with the deepest part of myself. So I'll talk about the 4 levels of speech.
Okay.
Because in the teachings of sacred sound in the Indian tradition, they break it down. I mean, it's not so clear cut, but they break it down to 4 levels of speech. The source of sound, which is arising from the pure space and emptiness in the heart, that then moves into an idea or a thought, or like just the tiny little sprout of a movement into the throat. And then it comes into more of formulation, more specific idea in the mind. And then it comes out on the tongue or the lips into audible vibration.
How beautiful. I had not heard that.
It's one of the core concepts, I think, and it's really important when we think about healing with sacred sound, because whether you're chanting a mantra or singing a kīrtan or even talking to somebody, if your heart and your throat and your mind and your words are not in harmony,
Yes.
then you've got problems. Yeah.
Interesting.
So when we work with sacred sound, we work with basically the deep work of realigning the flow from nothing into something.
Realigning the flow of nothing into something. And this is very powerful because I'm thinking, you know, everyone at some time in life goes through a tough time, whether it's the environment that's challenging, like we're challenged with today in the world, or whether it's a personal issue or feeling, and that can often put us out of alignment. So this idea of aligning from the center, this nothing point, to the, you know, getting things back into harmony, already suggests that healing's taking place. How can our viewers be intentional about this? If they were to come to you and say, you know I'm out of alignment, I'm in a lot of pain, I'm in a lot of turmoil inside, there's nothing I can do in my external environment, what I want to do is get back so that I'm aligned, so that I have peace, and then also I have the power to actually, you know, move in as a harmonious whole in my life. What would you recommend? What would you say to them?
Well, you saw me get a little shiver, truth shiver, because just having the awareness that re-harmonizing is possible, and having those 4 levels of speech kind of as a guideline,
Right.
with the intention of making your words match your heart, and match your heart, match your words, match your action. So that in itself is a wonderful place to begin.
So let's say this again. Re-harmonizing is possible.
Absolutely.
It is possible.
I am a
You're,
good example of that.
and you are. I mean,
You should have seen me 20 years ago. I was a nutcase.
I didn't, and I would never have guessed that because
Yeah.
you are so harmonious in your being, and I've had the pleasure of knowing
I have my
you.
moments too.
Of course, we all do. So this reharmonizing is possible, and you're offering tools to be able to do that. So for a beginner, what would you suggest? How would they begin?
Well, one of the most powerful practices, usually the most powerful practices are the simplest practices, right? Is a humming technique that I often teach at the beginning of any kind of nada yoga session, like the yoga of sound, which is like basically singing is what we do. It's a listening practice where you listen in to the sounds of the environment around you. Could be bell ringing on the distance, or it could be the sound of a river. Everything has a pitch,
Right.
if you listen. It could be the sound of the bus that you're riding in on your way to work, the commute that you have. I've done it on the Tokyo Metro 100 times. You listen in to the pitch of your surroundings, and I usually give the guideline that it's 60% listening and only about 40% sound production. So the edge is listening, and then you add your very soft so a simple sound, and even you can do it, nobody will even, you're going to be so soft
Right.
that unless you're in a pin drop silent room, no one will hear you.
Right.
And having that awareness, having the intention that the sound is alive with listening, and the sound is more listening than it is doing, helps to retune the energy. It helps to bring our awareness in. It's like tuning your inner self, and then yet you're still in a harmonious interaction with your environment.
That is so beautiful. The tuning in sounds like a mindfulness practice.
You could say that, yeah.
The being very present to the environment and taking in the sounds. We've got some sounds now coming up in the background, many of them actually. And then to emit your own soft sound in harmony with that. Sounds really beautiful. And when you did hum just now, I could feel it vibrating in me.
It's a way to stay true to the inner voice.
Right.
As well. We have a tendency, especially in this age with, children, toddlers taking selfies, we are so outwardly oriented.
Yes.
It's epidemic, really. I don't know that in any other point in human history that people have been so incredibly externally oriented, worried about their image, worried about what other people think of them. They probably have new names for that in the American Medical Associations, like
That I don't know.
I think there is one.
Funny.
But so it's like we need the practices, these simple, totally doable, and ancient practices are, I think, more relevant today and also critical
Yes.
for our health
I think
and
so.
well-being.
So you mentioned to me earlier that you actually have an offering online. Would you like to tell us about that in case people would like to tune in and practice with you?
Yeah. In fact, this practice is something I describe in more detail along with several other sound-based yoga practices it's a free e-course that is 108 days long, and it's centered around the theme of mantras for peace.
How beautiful.
So I teach several different variations of a peace practice, and the request is that people who take the course dedicate 5 to 10 minutes a day to use their heart's voice as an instrument for peace in the world.
So this is an invitation. We're going to close with this to all of us to spend 5 to 10 minutes a day using the heart for peace.
Yeah, using the voice of your heart. Let yourself be an instrument of peace.
So using the voice of the heart to be an instrument of peace. And Anandra has an offering for us that takes 108 days. So for those of us who are beginners,
Perfect.
We have this amazing teacher to lead us in this practice. I so honor what you do, Anandra. It has just far-reaching impact on, there are 1,000 people from over 100 countries that come to this festival every year, and you offer this to all of us, and you also travel the world and offer it workshops and classes. And so I want to thank you, and I will hopefully be more skilled when I come back and see you next year.
Well, it's such a deep honor, really, to be an instrument for these practices and these teachings to a global audience. You know, because of who I am as being in a white woman's body with an American passport, I have the ability to share in a way that, you know, the yogis up in the Himalayas can't get a visa.
Yeah.
You know, so I really feel so blessed to just be an instrument of sharing these gifts with the world. And definitely, if you would join us for the Mantras for Peace, that would be amazing. It's life transforming.
Thank you.
Yay. Thank you, sweetie.
Yeah.